Hi basketball family, welcome back to the channel. Nobody saw this. Just weeks ago, South Carolina fans were bracing for the worst. Chloe Kitts out, season in danger, championship dreams suddenly feeling fragile. Social media was filled with panic, doubt, and one big question echoing everywhere. How do you replace Chloe Kitts? But then, something shifted. Behind closed doors, Dawn Staley made a decision so calculated, so bold, that it completely flipped the narrative, and now fans are realizing this was never just about an injury. It was about a plan. A plan that's been quietly unfolding while everyone else was looking the other way. And when you understand what that plan really is, it changes everything about how you see South Carolina this season and beyond. Before we break it all down, smash that like button, subscribe if you love elite women's basketball coverage, and drop a comment right now. Do you think South Carolina can still win it all without Chloe Kitts on the floor? Because once you hear what Dawn Staley has been setting up, and the role Chloe Kitts is still playing behind the scenes, you'll realize this setback might actually be the most dangerous move South Carolina has made. Let's get into it. This story begins with silence. Not the kind of silence you get in an empty gym, but the heavy, uncomfortable kind that settles over a fan base when something feels off. South Carolina fans noticed it almost immediately. No Chloe Kitts highlights in preseason clips. No familiar hustle plays. No early season dominance from the senior leader who had become the emotional engine of Dawn Staley's frontcourt. And then came the announcement. A torn ACL. Season ending. No return timetable. For a program built on power, depth, and continuity, this was supposed to be the moment where everything cracked. But instead, something unexpected happened. Because while fans were still processing the loss, Dawn Staley was already 2 steps ahead, and the plan she quietly put in motion is what has now shocked South Carolina fans. Before we get into that plan, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment because this story is about much more than an injury. It's about leadership, evolution, and how elite programs survive moments that should break them. Now let's rewind. Chloe Kitts wasn't just another starter. She was the connective tissue of this South Carolina team. The glue player. The one who did the dirty work, guarded multiple positions, set crushing screens, and gave Staley exactly what she values most, reliability under. By her senior season, Kitts had become the embodiment of Gamecock basketball. Tough. Unselfish. Physically imposing without chasing stats. When things got messy, the ball found her hands, and the team's. So when she went down in the preseason, it wasn't just a roster issue. It was a culture test. Most programs would scramble. Some would panic. A few would quietly lower expectations. Dawn Staley did none of that. Instead, she said something that barely made headlines at the time, but in hindsight, it told us everything. We won't skip a beat. At first, fans heard confident. What they didn't hear yet was strategy. Behind closed doors, Staley wasn't looking for a replacement for Chloe Kitts. She knew that was impossible. You don't replace leadership. You redistribute it. And that's where the real plan began. Rather than force one player into Kitts' role, Staley redesigned the system. Practices changed. Rotations changed. The offense became more fluid, more positionless. Responsibilities that once lived with one veteran were now split across the roster. And most importantly, Staley leaned into youth. This is where the story takes a turn. Because while Chloe Kitts was rehabbing, mentoring, and staying locked in from the sidelines, South Carolina's younger players were being fast-tracked into roles they weren't supposed to touch until next year. Joyce Edwards? Thrown into high-leverage situations early. Other front-court players? Asked to defend more space, make quicker decisions, and play without the safety net Kitts used to provide. At first, there were defensive breakdowns. Missed rotations. Moments where fans on social media started asking, do we miss Chloe more than we thought? And the honest answer was yes. But that was never the point. Because Dawn Staley wasn't coaching for November. She was coaching for March. The real shock came when people realized Chloe Kitts hadn't disappeared from the program at all. She became something else entirely. Practices? She was there. Film sessions? Front row. Locker room? Still one of the loudest voices. Staley empowered her to lead without playing. That's rare. Most injured seniors slowly fade into the background. Kitts didn't. She became an extension of the coaching staff, pulling teammates aside, correcting positioning, reinforcing standards. And here's where fans started to realize the truth. This wasn't just about surviving without Chloe Kitts. This was about building a more dangerous South Carolina team for the future. Because by removing one central pillar, Staley forced everyone else to grow. Opponents began to notice it too. South Carolina stopped running predictable sets through the post. The ball moved faster. Defensive switches became more aggressive. The team's identity subtly shifted, from power dominance to collective pressure. And suddenly, what looked like a weakness became an advantage. Team scouting South Carolina couldn't key in on one front-court anchor anymore. There was no single matchup to exploit. No obvious pressure point. And all of it traced back to one decision: not rushing a comeback, not chasing a miracle return, and not pretending Chloe Kitt's absence wasn't massive. Staley embraced the loss, and used it. Now here's the part that really shocked fans. There was never a secret mid-season return plan. No hidden timetable. No miracle recovery. No will she or won't she suspense. The plan was patient. Protect Chloe Kitt's future. Protect the program's standards. Protect the locker room. By shutting down any comeback speculation early, Staley removed distraction. The team moved forward instead of waiting. And Chloe Kitt's? She focused on coming back fully, not quickly. That's elite leadership. And it's why South Carolina didn't collapse. Instead, they evolved. By the time postseason conversations started, analysts were saying something that would have sounded crazy months earlier: South Carolina might actually be harder to prepare for now. Not better without Chloe Kitt's, but broader. More adaptable. Less dependent. And when Kitt's does return, healthy, experienced, and having seen the game from a new perspective, the program will be stronger for it. So no, this wasn't a shocking comeback announcement. It was something more dangerous. A revelation. Dawn Staley showed, once again, that elite programs don't react emotionally. They plan patiently. They sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term dominance. And Chloe Kitt's? Her comeback isn't about this season. It's about everything that comes next. If you made it this far, like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment. Do you think South Carolina is more dangerous now than before the injury? Because this story isn't over yet. So when you really look at it, this wasn't a collapse. It was a test. A test of culture. A test of leadership. A test of whether South Carolina is just talented, or truly elite. And Dawn Staley answered that question without saying much at all. No panic. No shortcuts. No rushed comeback. Just patience, trust, and a long-term vision that most programs never see coming. Chloe Kitt's story this season isn't about minutes or box scores. It's about influence. It's about sacrifice. And it's about what happens when a program refuses to let adversity define it. And when she does return, healthy, stronger, and wiser, remember this moment. Remember how South Carolina didn't flinch. Because that's how dynasties survive. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more in-depth women's basketball stories, and drop a comment below. Does this make South Carolina more dangerous moving forward, or do you still think they need Chloe Kitt's on the floor to win it all? Thanks for... This story isn't finished.